Hello, Professor Hawkins. Thank you for letting me present my persuasive speech once more. It really means a lot to me. Thank you. Today we'll be discussing the removal of net neutrality and what it means for you and me as internet users. There seem to be many common misconceptions among internet users and protesters regarding the removal of net neutrality and what it will do. These protesters believe that it'll slow down our internet speeds, charge us more, regulate what we can see on the internet by the FCC, and even take away our freedom of speech. I'm here to tell you today that this is not the case. With the removal of net neutrality, we'll see the option to pay more for faster internet or pay less for faster internet, as well as many large networks and corporations providing media outputs and large websites to make the internet easier to navigate and easier to find the information we need for those like the young or the elderly who are less tech savvy. This will also increase competition among internet service providers for the best media outlets, the best price, and the best speed, thus increasing the variety of internet service providers. 2 days ago, on June 11th, the FCC voted to repeal net neutrality and won. The only thing stopping them is a signature from the House of Representatives. I invoke you and every other internet user out there to encourage this signature from the House because it will lead to a better, more efficient internet. In order to convince internet users that this is the path our internet should take, I will explain the origin of net neutrality, how the internet will be different after it's gone, the cost of internet before and after net neutrality, examples of similar scenarios where technology grows and evolves like the internet, as well as similar services that undergo the same evolution as the internet. First off, what is net neutrality? Harvard law professor Tim Wu coined the term net neutrality as the fair treatment of all data by ISPs or internet service providers. Sorry, the computer was going to shut off. Without blocking or slowing down the flow of information, these ISPs must yield to net neutrality. With net neutrality gone, ISPs such as Comcast, AT&T, and Verizon will be able to charge for the use of the internet instead of a monthly set fee. The SF Chronicle states that the internet without net neutrality will behave more like a water or a cable bill. If you leave the internet on and no one's using it, you're wasting money. This also supports ecological terms, but also, if your neighbor currently with net neutrality downloads 100 movies per night and you only download 1 movie per night, you're both paying the same amount and while he's downloading vastly more information than you. With net neutrality gone, you'll be paying depending on how much you use compared to just a set amount. For example, PBS News states that New Yorkers pay $150 per month for internet, whereas people in Seoul, London, Romania all pay half a dollar per gigabyte. That means if you want to use up the same amount of internet for the same price as people in Europe, you'll have to download 300 gigabytes per month, where if you don't, you're just wasting money. Net neutrality is the way to go for our internet, and it will be the most. No net neutrality is the way to go for our internet, and it will be the most efficient way. Furthermore, because there are no ISPs regulating and improving our internet, there's no option to invest in them. So they're not trying to improve the internet for us. But if investment was possible, they'd be able to improve security to prevent hacking and scamming. They would be able to improve speeds and the overall internet layout as we know it. I'm sure all of us know at least one person who has been scammed, but it's still shocking to know that the researched amount by the Haviland Internet Research Company is $6 billion is stolen. $6 billion was stolen last year through scammers and fraud alone. All of these benefits from the internet is still evolving and ever expanding, so I'm not sure why people would not want the internet regulated. As stated before, the internet is still fairly new and wasn't open to the public until 1991. A similar situation with the evolution and regulation occurred with television. At first, with television, there was no control over what you could see. It was just whatever was on. But, as stated in the novel, The Future of Music by David Cusack, he shows that the evolution of television is directly related to the evolution of internet. Stated here on page 135, he says, there was a need for an improved and efficient system for distributing the shows at higher quality levels into a more diverse population. A vastly expanded broadcast and production industry was allowed to develop, creating cash, jobs, opportunities for people, companies, cities, and communities around the world. Entirely new concepts such as superstations, pay-per-view channels were developed along with 1,000 niche channel programs to address the needs of sports fans, movie buffs, news addicts, and many other interested areas. Production companies flourished, as did the distributors. Thus, the evolution of television led to more jobs, more economic growth, and an overall better TV experience. Thus, if we could invoke this into our internet, we could have an overall better internet experience. And I know we're all skeptical to hand over our free internet to the FCC, but ISPs, or internet service providers, have already pledged to not put governors on our internet access. Stated by the Heritage Internet Foundation, the only case in which an ISP was performing a market impropriety was in 2004 by a rural cable company that was blocking internet access for an unknown reason. The FCC quickly stamped this act out and was able to restore connection back to the people who were blocked it. This is the only instance in which the FCC has been unjust. Now I will read a quote by Rebecca MacKinnon, a worldwide internet activist who stands up for what's right and fair, equal treatment and use of the internet for all people. She states that there are certainly many strong reasons to be concerned about government meddling in private networks, but at the same time, market competition keeps companies honest only when there are ample choices and alternatives, and if the cost of switching service is not prohibitively high for most people, in the United States, that condition does not even come close to being met. Most Americans face very limited choices of broadband and wireless providers, especially in comparison to Europe, where regulations force competitive use of infrastructure. Also, so that solidifies that the lack of variety in internet service providers is just an abomination to us. We are being held out on by our own government. And stated by The Economist in December 2010, the failure in America to tackle the underlying lack of competition in the provision of internet access is, of course, would require much heavier political lifting in Congress, but it would get America's phone and cable companies to open up their networks to others. We must ensure net neutrality is revoked, as well as be sure to invest in the large ISPs that will be assisting our internet experience. This will lead to profitable jobs, larger, more reliable internet services, and an overall better internet. As stated by Cusack, MacKinnon, and the FCC chairman, this internet change will only be beneficial. So today I discussed with you net neutrality, what it is, what will happen when it's gone, what direction the internet is headed, and much like TV, it'll evolve and be much more processed and individualized depending on our interests. It'll be a better internet experience overall, and I support this repeal of net neutrality, and you can help this repeal of net neutrality by emailing or calling our representative of California in the House of Representatives and let her know that this revocation of neutrality is in our best interest and our internet's best interest. Thank you.